Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert from the Business Awards show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Businesswomen Awards. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Barbara, who is the owner of the Wimbledon Music School, and she's also an accomplished cellist. And we're going to be talking about Barbara's business journey and also about her recent win in the Best Businesswomen Awards for a silver award in the Children and Families category. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely to be here. I was really looking forward to this conversation. And I just, with a touch of, pre-recording nerves, I listened to all the previous episodes, kind of hoping that I get some tricks on what, how it sounds like.
Well, we start off by talking a bit about your business journey. And at just age 22, you took the music school over, Wimbledon Music School. So that was several years ago, 5 years ago now. So tell us a bit about what that was like at just 22 years old, buying a business and, having to live up to the standards that the business had built.
Yes, in a way, I always knew from a very young age what I would like to do. So for me, it was not necessarily as much of a surprise that I did it quite young. It was more of a surprise for everyone else. And I would say in a way as well, I was quite lucky because the opportunity appeared straight after I was at the end of finishing my master's degree. And it meant that I had stressful but kind of smooth transition from a student kind of years into the proper working world, and it was interesting, especially trying to secure a small business loan as a student, and I would also say as a young woman, I don't think a lot of people was taking me very seriously, but luckily there was some that did. And when that was all approved, I managed to join my previous self-employed business. So I was doing before tutoring cello and piano with what at the time was the smaller version of Wimbledon Music School. At the time, it only had violin and piano, and it also did not have facilities. So it was run more in a way like majority of other music establishments are run in the UK, so more in a private home kind of basis. Mm-hmm. So, but I knew that what I want to do with it is kind of go the next step forward, where we are a proper music school with our own rooms so that we can provide brilliant facilities for the students, but also I would say safe environment for teaching for our teachers, our staff. Otherwise, I'm sure that people who are taking music lessons or are kind of in this world know a lot about this, but in the UK, majority of tutoring is kind of either done at your home or in the meantime when you have your school and they take you out of other classes. So regular music schools where you actually have a building, a school that you come in the afternoon or on a Saturday, it's a fairly rare thing. And I think that's why we managed to grow so much in the last 5 years. So we now have, I believe, triple amount of students that we had when I took over. And we now have 9 teachers plus me.
Amazing.
Yeah, we are doing well, and it's a very enjoyable job to have, really.
Oh my goodness. So obviously you took the business over in 2018, and then of course the pandemic hit 2 years later. Yeah. So how did that affect you? Did you have to take your lessons online?
Yes, really interestingly, because we were a private school, we were kind of seen as a private school. We were quite lucky because it meant that if the schools were open, we were allowed to be open, obviously with some, protective measures and stuff like that. But in that side of things, I think we got quite the good end of the deal with if you compare us with any other businesses really during COVID. There were times when we needed to go online, and I think it was quite a learning curve for all of us. But I must say, we have a brilliant team of teachers, and we managed to do it quite well, actually. And interestingly, I find that parents, in a way, especially when there was no school, they had no clue what to do with their children more at home because they were all, sitting at home. So the amount of lessons we were giving per week actually increased in the online times. because parents would call me and say, please, can you give us another lesson? Because we don't know what else to do. And yeah, so for us, actually, COVID was not detrimental in a business kind of way. But I am a very big, I would say, supporter of that. The business like mine is also a community. And I would say that's the part that it's very difficult to do online. So we like when students come to the school, we have lovely waiting rooms, parents can speak to each other, we can speak to each other. Even if I don't teach someone, I can speak to them. So it's that kind of community. Also then concerts, festivals, all of these kind of things kind of fell off. And we are just starting to pick them back up, really.
So what sort of instruments do you teach? So you teach cello, and what other instruments?
So we also have piano, we have violin and viola, we have singing, and we have just recently also got a wind teacher, so flute, clarinet, saxophone and oboe. And we will be opening the wind classes in January, actually. So yes, we have quite options. We did have guitar a while ago, but I must say that's one of the only instruments that did not really stick in a classical way. I find, because we do teach mostly classical and maybe jazz, musical theatre, but I find that everyone who would call up to learn guitar, they would be like, oh, I want to be, I don't know, Ed Sheeran or someone, you know. I'm not too interested in the classical side of things, which is fair enough. It's just probably we are not the appropriate ones then for that.
So how old were you when you started playing?
So I think playing I was 6. And when I started going to music school, I was 4. I'm not originally from the UK. I'm from Slovenia. It's a very small country kind of in, well, we like to call ourselves Central Europe. I think the rest of Europe says we are Eastern Europe, but, you know, it's debatable. But we have a little bit of a different system where music school is a part of a public system. So it's the same as primary school, let's say. So when children are 4, you can sign up and then you have different classes. It's also fairly cheap because it's completely subsidized by government rather than privately funded. And majority of children start when they're 4, and then by the time you're 6, you choose your instrument, and then you continue with that, really.
So there's a much greater emphasis in Slovenia on music than there is here, would you say?
I would say there's more funding available that is not only kind of dependent on parents themselves. Us as a school, we obviously heavily depend on the parents who pay the fees. And then we do have some business sponsorships for students who potentially would need scholarships, who could not afford the fees. I work quite hard to try to organize as well some things with the councils, because we are kind of on the border between Merton and Kingston Council. So for students who would have special needs, but I would say still in 80%, even more, I would say 85%, we rely on the fees parents can pay. And that's another thing that I would say in current climate, while music lessons, I think, can be extremely beneficial, and that has been scientifically proven, it's not a necessity in terms of, you know, when you are choosing, oh, we need to pay the bills for food and we need to pay the mortgage and things like that. The music lesson is probably not in the top 5. So we are kind of finding the ways of how really making sure that it's still affordable and we have different options for our students. But yeah.
So if you're sort of thinking, if somebody's listening to this and they're sort of thinking about buying a business, what were the key things that you would share that you did when you bought this business?
I would say you really need to know what you are doing, because I was very new to the business side of things, but I was young, but I started to assist my teachers teaching when I was 14. And I always knew that is my passion. So in terms of being very well versed in what my business is, I think made the whole process much easier. And I was very, very confident that I would not fail. I don't know how to describe that differently. I did think that it will take us a bit longer to be at the stage that we are now, especially then with COVID hit and everything. But overall, I think the confidence that you need a confidence in knowledge and expertise of what you're doing in order to build a business around it. And another advice would be just go to every single bank in person, because majority of people will probably laugh you off, but someone won't. And you only need one. So
you only need one. That's right. So really what you're saying is, your advice would be know the industry quite well if you're buying a business in it, and understand it, because you had that insider knowledge, and you were a teacher yourself. You've got presumably a music degree, did you mention earlier?
Yes, I have a music degree from Trinity, and I have from Royal College of Music. I have kind of a joint degree. It's a Master's of Science, and it actually went into, I specialized more on the developmental psychology side, because that's kind of my interest. I try to train myself and my team of teachers that we make sure that all our lessons are in line with developmental stages of every child. It's very important, because otherwise very quickly music can be seen as, one child is talented and the other one is not, which is not necessarily how we would approach any other teaching. So some people are more inclined to have talents in some things, but everyone can achieve a good basic or even intermediate level with proper guidance.
So what excites you about your business? What is it that you think, oh wow, I'm doing this and it's amazing?
I must say many things, but mainly working with children and seeing them grow. Last year was my first year that one of my students that I've been teaching for almost 10 years, because they were my first students when I moved here. They went to university, and they chose a music degree. And it in a way it made me feel old, just slightly, but in a way it was kind of the reason why we do all of this. And it's lovely to see everyone, how they progress, how they learn, but also it's a very enjoyable atmosphere. So we know each other. I know students' birthdays. We celebrate their successes together. If they struggle with something at school or anything like that, we are there to help as much as we can. And it's just a very, very pleasant working environment, I would say.
And so do you bring the students together for performances once a year? You do. So I bet that's a lot of work.
We have every term, actually. So every term we have a concert. And then once a year we do like a festival when we invite people to do masterclasses. We do competitions and things like that. So we do try to give as many opportunities as possible to our students. But also in a way, I think it's beneficial for us as a business to be visible in the community. So we do quite a lot for, Christmas fairs, and to be involved in summer fairs, and then to be involved with the community. Because I think for a business like ours, that's probably how people hear about us. I would say we are one of the businesses that don't do too much online marketing and things like that. But I would say the word of mouth in the community is the best recommendation we usually get. Yeah,
definitely. So awards, how did that appear on your radar?
Very interestingly, actually, one of my team members, we were talking about how to raise the kind of visibility and the profile of the company. And she mentioned it, and I thought, oh, okay. Do you need to apply for that? I don't know why, but I kind of thought that someone just nominates you from somewhere, but that's usually, not how it goes. And I started to look into it, and I would say the Best Businesswoman Award kind of stood out because I thought, okay, it's not a popularity contest, so I will not need to share any kind of, oh, please vote for me, because that is my biggest nightmare, and I would not do it. I do not even have Facebook at this time. And the second thing was that I thought when I started, I do think that being a woman was one of the things that went against me to some extent. I do think that currently I don't feel that anyway, but maybe it was kind of youth and being woman. So that's why I think I said I'll just put application in and I'll see what happens. And I was really pleasantly surprised at, I don't know, just the level of the level and the standard of people who attended there with me. I was really, amazed. It gives you inspiration to do then the next thing with your business, even though their businesses were completely different. But it's really lovely to listen to other women to speak about their businesses with such passion and kind of knowledge as well, the expertise that they have.
So has it spurred you on to enter other awards now?
Yes, it did. I must say I'm still kind of, I wouldn't say I'm very good at the application process yet. I think I'm getting better at it. But we currently applied for 2 more local ones, and we'll see what happens with that. And then I need to kind of look into the rest of the opportunities that are there, really.
And did you share the win with all your students? Did you tell them?
We did. Oh, that's actually a fairly funny story. So, you know, the little silver star.
Yes.
So we have it on the school. We have like a wall of fame, and usually it's for students who kind of, whoever's the student of the week or student, you know, they have the thing. So I put the star there. And yesterday I had one little student, I think she's around 6. And she said, "Oh, wow, Daddy, look, Barbara won Dancing with the Stars. They get this kind of awards there." And I was like, no, definitely not Dancing with the Stars. But it's nice for them to see. And mainly they just enjoy taking pictures with it. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's a good validation of your work.
Yes.
And, you know, we do know from research that when people are looking at making decisions about where to, you know, place their children, the fact that you've won an award does add to your credibility. You know, it means your business has been externally judged. So now you're on a playing field as a businesswoman as well as a cellist. So you're great at what you do with the cello, but you've also now been recognised as a businesswoman as well, which is completely different. But you've merged the two together, and I think that's you know, that's critical to continuing your business success, really. So what are the long-term plans? What would you like to do with the Wimbledon Music School?
So I would say in terms of Wimbledon Music School, we would like to continue to grow, to offer as many students as possible our lessons, our services. We are currently planning that we are increasing students on around 15 to 20% mark year per year. And that is kind of, I think, what we have been achieving up to this point. I would say on a more broader way, kind of on more on my side, is that I'm now starting to see as well that if I want to offer the same standard of what we are doing to all the students, we will need to look more into teacher training and maybe work more on that side of the things. So I'm also now starting to put together a program where we would be offering it to teachers, even if they're not teaching with us, on what we do. So basically what I was saying before in terms of developmental stages, and there is, I will not bore you with the details, but there has been a certain kind of approach to teaching music and instruments for I would say centuries at this point. And quite a lot it has been based on the fact that people need to have a lot of support at home. So what we try to do is to really make sure that even for parents who have no clue about music. They've never played an instrument. They don't maybe have a lot of time because they need to work, so they can't sit with a child and practice every half an hour. That we make sure that those children can progress as well. And yeah, so that is kind of the long-term plan, to not only increase the school as such, but also kind of our good practice to whoever's interested, basically.
Sounds amazing. Well, it's been great chatting to you today. Is there any lasting little tips that you'd like to share for anybody who's in that early stage journey of their business? What's kind of helped you through?
I would say just don't give up. I would say that's the main thing. And people usually laugh at this, but I always say that if you have plan A, you always need to have plans for everything. But you also need to know that it will never go by the plan that you decided. So you need to have plan A, B, C, D, and you just go through them as it happens. And I think that is probably the most important thing, to be organized and disciplined, but also very adaptable. I think if you have those three components, then, and obviously I would say expertise in whatever you do. But yeah, I think those are the main components. But the main thing is just to not give up and keep going, because yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it's really worth it.
No, it is. And your passion really comes across. It really does. And I think adaptability in business, you know, I'm in my 25th year of business this year. I can't actually believe that. And the awards have been going 9 years. And I think you have to think on your feet. And I think the pandemic taught us that. If you hadn't learned that lesson, that's when you learned it, that, you know, we don't know what's around the corner. And I guess as well with you, with working with children and working alongside the curriculum that's being delivered in schools to do with music, you have to be a bit congruent with that. And, you know, it's great because I love to see businesses that are working with the performing arts is such an undervalued subject in schools. And it's so important. And we want to see that continue. And it's companies like yours that are supporting our next generation of orchestras, which is amazing. There's nothing like listening to an amazing orchestra, is there? It's incredible. Great lessons in teamwork as well there.
Yes, and also I think just in general, you know, skills like time management, how to be efficient, how to project manage, you know, how to set your priorities. We teach quite a lot through our lessons, you know, how to practice and how to practice. It's very similar to how to build a business. You need to go step by step, and each block needs to be done before you join them all together. So I think there's a lot of life lessons that can be pulled from music lessons. But yes, as well, if we do not teach the next generation of musicians, then, I mean, computers can do a lot, but I think there is something with art that they will never be able to recreate as a live orchestra can.
Yeah, it's just that whole atmosphere, isn't it? It's what a live orchestra can create that all the AI and all the technology in the world can't do. So yeah, amazing. Lovely to chat to you, Barbara. I wish you continued success with the music school. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing of more awards being put onto that shelf at the school.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.